Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome to the Panther Insider Podcast driven by Ford. This is Dave Cohen, the radio voice of the Panthers. Great to have you back with us again as we go inside Georgia State basketball this week. On the latest show, we're talking with second-year head coach Jonas, recapping the non-conference portion of Georgia State's basketball schedule and talking early Sun Belt Conference play. The Panthers just back from Hattiesburg and Mobile. Georgia State 7-7 overall, 2-1 in league play. And in the second segment, we'll talk with Gene Hill, head women's basketball coach. They've won 4 of their last 5 ball games, heading into this weekend with Marshall and Appalachian State games at the Convocation Center. They are 8-5 and 2-1 in conference play. Again, a busy week at the Convocation Center for Georgia State basketball. The men on Thursday night have Old Dominion, and Saturday afternoon, Georgia Southern. And right now, we're talking men's basketball here in the first segment of the Panther Insider Podcast. Inside Georgia State basketball, head coach Jonas Hayes. And good to see you again. It's not like we didn't just spend the entire weekend on the road in Hattiesburg and Mobile, Alabama. And, boy, what a great bounce-back win from a tough night at Hattiesburg. Great win coming out of Mobile, 90-76 over South Alabama.
Yeah, Dave, it's always good to see you. It's basketball season. It's a fun time of year. But I am proud of the bounce back our guys had from Southern Miss on Thursday to South Alabama on Saturday. And the one thing that I am really even more, convicted about is our team's ability to be resilient. And we made a big-time effort on the one-day prep in between Southern Miss and Southern Al to really get our identity back on the defensive end. And I thought we did that from the level of intensity, level of urgency that we showed for pretty much the majority of that South Alabama game. And to come away from that place against that talented of a team with a win, I thought that was very, very good. And our team took another step in growing into the team I think we can become.
Let me tell you about one of the observations I had going back to Saturday night or Saturday afternoon in Mobile when we were talking about defense, because you and I talked on the radio in the pregame about, offense is fun. Sometimes it's not always fun to play defense. One thing I noticed about South Alabama, and we Georgia State, played much better defense Saturday, as you said, than we did on Thursday. Did you notice South Alabama seemed to be a step ahead defensively? How many times did they step in a passing lane and deflect or come up with a steal? They seemed like they were always in and around the ball.
Yeah, so in the first half, they had 3 what we call pick sixes, and they just stole the ball and go right up for a layup. And they are extremely aggressive on the on their defensive end. But I thought our guys, we had one guy to have 5 turnovers, and Jaden, that's very uncharacteristic for him. But I thought for the majority of the game, we stayed poised, and we made some adjustments on the offensive end to give ourselves a better look on the offensive end. But again, offense, I don't think would be our problem largely because we do have guys that can make some shots and make some plays. It's going to continue to boil down to, are we committed enough on the defensive end to bend but don't break?
Well, you mentioned Jaden, and you mentioned his turnovers. He certainly made up for it in 3 other areas. He had his 3rd consecutive double-double. And he also had, I think, 5 steals in that game. So he turned it over 5 times, but he also got it back 5 times.
Yeah, so if anybody asked the real Jayden Turner to stand up, that's the real Jayden Turner. And again, I tell anybody that, listen, I legitimately feel like I have 8 guys on the floor when Jaden's on. He is just so dynamic of a ball player. And I'm glad he's with us. I am so glad he's with us. He is a rare breed, and I don't think I've ever coached a kid that brings that much intensity and urgency and just will to be really, really good. I don't think I've ever coached anybody that's that committed on that end of the ball.
The other guy who was with me on the radio on the postgame show in Mobile on Saturday, and I thought had a really good weekend, was Dewan Odom. And, Dewan's been here now and, was with you, obviously, at Xavier, so he knows pretty much what the deal is. And one of the things I said to Dewan with the loss at Southern Miss and the win at South Alabama, and in his leadership role as a guy who's been here, I said, you're a guy that plays with a lot of emotion. But at the same time, I said this to him, you're a calming effect on the floor as well.
He's grown by leaps and bounds in that area. And I know he seemed like he's been in college for 1,000 years, but that's an area, and he and I have had discussions and with the staff about playing with emotion but not being emotional. And there's a difference, and the amount of poise to be able to exhibit the amount of poise in games has really been an area of focus for him, just from the mental aspect. And I think he's grown leaps and bounds in his poise and his ability to stay calm, but his ability to affect other people. And so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that as we move forward.
The other guy who I thought had a pretty good road trip, both on the offensive end and the defensive end, was Leslie Nkereuwem. Just all over the boards. I think he had 7 rebounds in the South Alabama game. 5 of them were offensive.
Yeah, and so I look at Leslie, and he wasn't cleared with the shoulder injury. He had surgery last year. He wasn't cleared to play or practice, full practice until late September. And so he missed. He was in workouts, but he wasn't in any full contact drills. And so now we coming up the 1st of January. He's just now finding his rhythm. And I think now for the first time in over a year, he's fully healthy. And now you're starting to see his productivity kind of match the way he feels. And listen, he has the his heart is a battery. It never stops. His activity and his intensity and just his fight is akin to Jaden's. And when you have 2 guys that's at your front court positions that bring that much level, who gives a care if they just a little bit undersized? But those guys bring it, and they bring it doggone there every night.
One of your impact transfers, the kid from Wake Forest, Lucas Taylor, right now leading the way with 14 points. He had a pretty good road trip.
Yeah, and that's who he is. He is a pit bull, man. He's one of our hardest workers. He's garnered a lot of respect from his teammates and from his coaches, and he's a guy that is vocal, but he leads by example. And to the amount of trust that he has earned from the coaches and from his teammates is showing up in his play. Now, he has good games, he has not so good games, but for the most part, you know what you're getting from Lucas from night in, night out, practice in, practice out. And that's very comforting to know. It gives me a great deal of confidence to know Lucas Taylor, I know what I'm getting from him.
Finally able to unpack the bags. You and I talked on a recent radio show as well. You challenged this team, unlike last year where I think 11 of the first 13 were in Atlanta. Your bags have been packed for most of the first third of the season, and then early in Sun Belt Conference play. You're challenging them with being able to be one of those teams that can tough it out on the road.
Yeah, knowing that we had 2 of our first 3 conference games on the road, we wanted to challenge our guys in pre-conference, and we had 7 of our first 10. And learning how to overcome, acquiring the skill to overcome adversity, I think that's something all young people and all teams need to acquire. But certainly, as we move forward with this program, we needed to learn the skill of overcoming adversity. And I think for us to win a road game this early off in the conference season, especially on the heels of having, I think, won 2 road games in our pre-conference season, some of those lessons, the lessons that we learned, that we purposely put our guys in those situations in the pre-conference, we'll be able to pull back on those experiences now as we move forward, and you're going to continue to see us get better. I see something that's out on the horizon for this program, and we're moving closer to it. We just got to make sure we keep our head down and keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Nice thing to be back at 500, though, heading into this weekend.
Yeah, it is, and it gives our guys a little confidence heading back home. And this conference is going to be a meat grinder again, and just to get ourselves in a mental space that the next challenge is the most important challenge, and it so happens to be Old Dominion at home on Thursday.
All right, we don't want to look too far beyond that, but Georgia Southern right around the corner too, and we always know what that means no matter what the records are.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard-fought game. Believe it or not, I've not really done much prep, even mentally, physically, about that spot. Knowing this is an amazing week for Georgia State basketball.
When you talk about Panther basketball, again, going back to the fact that there were so many new faces that you brought in over the summer, obviously a lot of summer workouts helped facilitate everybody, learning to play with one another. You like where your team is right now?
Yeah, I do. We getting closer to having a sense of identity on defensive end. I think we're very, very talented on the offensive end. Obviously we still got to get, people in right roles and accepting roles and being able to understand there's a lot of guys and there's a lot of strength in our locker room, strength in numbers. And we're getting there. I'm very pleased where we are right now. On January 8th, I'm very pleased where we are.
Well, back during the summer, we were talking about it's a good problem that you have so many options. I mean, your bench is as deep as it's been. Well, the bench is as deep as it's been here at Georgia State in quite a while.
Yeah, and we're going to keep using that. And I think to having our guys to be confident in what we're doing as a program, but also confidence in your teammates, it's amazing. John Wooden said this. Jim Herrick said this a million times. It is truly amazing what can be accomplished when no one cares who gets the credit. When you got so many guys that are capable, that can be a tough matchup regardless of who we play.
Coach Herrick was at a practice in Atlanta, a month and a half or so ago, maybe a little longer. It was great to get a chance to talk to him. I always give him credit for playing Georgia State when Lefty was here, home and on the road. Granted, we had to play them at the Georgia Dome, but Georgia State beat them twice. And then he was with the team game day when we were out in Provo at BYU. My question is, obviously you and Jarvis, after transferring to Georgia from Western Carolina, played for Coach Herrick. How much of an influence and how much do you rely on, or how many phone calls do you make to him, just to get his take on something that may be something you're thinking about?
And so I call him very often. And as we try to build this program, I liken this to what he did at the University of Georgia his first couple of years. And he said, Jonas, make sure you feed these kids positivity. It's amazing how a kid's hearing will improve if he hears praise. Now, you have to coach them, but you have to always build these guys up, because that's something that we see in them that they necessarily don't see in themselves, and we have got to continue to try to pull that out. But it's amazing how well their hearing improves once they hear praise.
All right, Coach, appreciate it. Let's have a good weekend with Old Dominion and our friends from down in South Georgia, and we'll talk again next week here in the podcast.
As always, let's go Panthers.
I want to thank Georgia State head basketball coach Jonas Hayes joining us here in the opening segment of the Panther Insider podcast, driven by Ford, Inside Georgia State Basketball Edition. Quick reminder, basketball tickets available by calling the Georgia State Athletics Ticket Office, 404-413-4020. Online at georgiastatesports.com. We'll talk more Georgia State basketball. We'll turn our attention to the women's basketball team. They've won 4 of their last 5. We're going to talk to head coach Gene Hill following these words from Ford and Center Park Credit Union.
Even before the victory celebration is over, great teams are back at it the next day, working to get even better. The team at Ford understands how hard work and dedication pay off. Over the last 30 years, Ford Explorer has been America's best-selling SUV. In fact, all Ford SUVs, like Explorer, Escape, and Edge, are built for victory. Score a great offer today at your local Ford dealer. Based on total cumulative OEM reported U.S. sales for all SUVs from calendar year 1990 through calendar year 2019.
Center Park Credit Union, the official financial sponsor of GSU football, is proud to be a part of the Georgia State community and the Panther Athletics program. Center Park provides members convenient financial services. In addition to online banking, mobile banking, and 7 Metro Atlanta branches, Center Park members have access to 5,000 co-op shared branches and 75,000 surcharge-free ATMs nationwide. To find a location near you, visit online at centerpark.org/contact, and that's park with a C. Not a member? Join today at centerpark.org. At Center Park, we help our members flourish. We're back on the Panther Insider podcast, driven by Ford, Inside Georgia State Basketball. Appreciate head coach Jonas Hayes joining us in the opening segment, and we turn our attention now to Georgia State women's basketball, and they have been playing really well as of late. And we're going to talk with head coach Gene Hill. 4 wins in their last 5 ball games, and they've got Marshall and Appalachian State coming into the Convocation Center this weekend. But we welcome to the Panther Radio microphones right now head coach Gene Hill, and hey, congrats on a fantastic weekend. A win over Texas State in your last outing, bouncing back from a loss, and just like the men did. Again, 4 wins in the last 5 ball games. It feels like maybe, you can tell me, hitting a little bit of a stride here.
Well, obviously, we have a lot of new kids coming in this year, and I think, we use the preseason to kind of familiarize ourselves, get to know each other, and we're kind of understanding what we do well, and I think now you're starting to see the benefit of those things now, but really just pleased with how our young ladies was able to bounce back after the Monroe game and really come out and compete for Texas State.
You and I talked on an earlier Panther Insider podcast, and we were talking about the new world of college athletics that you guys have to operate and work within, and that's with the transfer portal. You getting used to that roster management challenge this year and really for the years to come, it looks like?
Yeah, it's funny because you have high school coaches or JUCO coaches or whoever, they're asking you, what do you need for next year? And my new answer is now everything, because you never know, and that's how it seems like you have to prepare. So unfortunately, yeah, you have to, I think, think 1 year at a time and just coach your team, and then you figure out next year at the end of the season and throughout the summer. But I'm really excited about the group we have right now, and I think obviously Greece was a great opportunity for us to also get some experience, and I think all that playing together is now starting to come together, and we're finally gelling a little bit.
As I said, 4 wins in your last 5 games. I want to go back here for just a moment, because every Group of 5 program, number one, loves the opportunity to go into a Power 5 building. You made the trip up 85 to Little John Coliseum in Clemson, and you got out of Clemson with a W.
Yeah, great win for us. I just really felt like, again, our players really came out focused. We had a game before that where we didn't get the results that we expected versus Winthrop, and to be able to turn it around in 48 hours and really get back to the basics. I think that's what you saw at Clemson, and I think that's what's a springboard for us to see that if we come and we focus and do the little things and play together as a team for 40 minutes, what we are able to do.
Right now at 8-5 and 2-1 in Sun Belt Conference play, you also got a fantastic win on the road at the buzzer at Troy.
Oh, man, anytime you could get a Sun Belt road win, it's a good one, but especially going down to Troy and to be able to get one there. I mean, what they've been able to do there with their program, but just a great win for our players. Continue. They battled for 40 minutes and never dropped their head, and even there at the end when we're in the huddle, they had had the look in their eye that they was going to win it, and we came down and we executed it, and so just great experience for us.
Always good to get those road wins. For whatever reason, winning on the road is a tiny, tiny bit, more exciting. Because you're expected to win at home. You expect to win your home games. When you go out on the road and you come out of that building with a W, there's just a special feeling about that.
No question. I don't know. I don't know if it's the ice cream we give them after road wins or what. Maybe we need to start something for home. But, yeah, we always talk about you need to be 11 points better on the road. You need to do things 11 points better and because it's tough. And so, yeah, it definitely feels good to get them.
All right, let's talk a little bit about personnel. Michaela Tolliver continues really to pace this women's basketball team here at Georgia State. But as you said, you got a lot of transfers, or a number of transfers that are fitting in, and you're plugging those pieces in and creating that chemistry kind of on the run.
Yeah. Michaela, we know, I think she's proven now what she could do in this league, and she just continues to get better. This summer, she really focused on improving her three-point shot, and I think right now she's shooting it at a 40% clip for the season. So obviously that really expanded her game, but she's also just showing great leadership in how she comes out and compete each and every day. And so just really proud of her and happy that she's seeing this type of success. And as you said, we got some other key players that's now making it a little easier for her, also getting her better looks, I'll say, there and stuff. So that helps also.
Let's talk about impact transfers, players that have come in and made their presence known pretty much ASAP.
Well, obviously, when you talk about transfers, players with experience, you first one comes up is Maya Williams. Maya has really stepped up and done a great job. She does a lot of the little things, willing to take the charge, willing to make the big shot, as we all saw at Troy. Just really solid players. And then you also have to think about Kaylee Addy. I mean, Kaylee has been really really consistent. She's probably been the most consistent overall, just offensively, how she shoots the ball from the three and also able to get to the rim. But she's also one of our better on-ball defenders, and that's a local Atlanta kid that we recruited early, and we're happy that she was able to come back, and she's really just been a big get for us.
Talk a little bit about another one of your players, Crystal Henderson.
Oh, Crystal, when you talk about newcomers, freshmen, what she's been able to do so far to be a true freshman is remarkable, because you normally don't see freshmen who can compete and play at this level consistently so early. And so, we knew that Crystal was a special player, and she's just coming out every night, and she's taking everyone's best shot, and she's continuing to lead this team. And that's another thing, when you ask a freshman to play the point guard and lead a team where you got some veterans and who they're used to their role, and she hasn't missed a beat. She's able to get them the ball and still get her shot and lead this team. So just really proud of her also.
Talking with Gene Hill, Georgia State women's head basketball coach. I remember back in the day, prior to the Sun Belt and the Colonial Athletic Association, the two schools that kind of carried the flag for women's basketball in the CAA were James Madison, Old Dominion, obviously a long, storied history in women's basketball. And, of course, now they're both in the Sun Belt here with us. Tell fans a little bit about the challenge, night in, night out, game in of Sun Belt Conference women's basketball, because there's not an off night.
Definitely not an off night. I recently just got the net rating for this week, and to see what we're doing in women's basketball in the Sun Belt is really remarkable. I think we're ranked the 10th, 11th as a conference so far this year. Every night is going to be a dog fight. It's no gimmies in this league. And then when you throw in the travel and everything, it's tough. It's tough, and so you better bring your lunch pail each and every night, because you got to go to work here.
All right. Well, you got two games at the Convocation Center coming up this week. Marshall and Appalachian State. Give us a quick preview.
Fast. That's how both of them like to play. So we have to make sure that we're able to slow them down. We want to play fast, but these two, they like to get up 70, 80 shots a game. They like to shoot the three, and we want to make sure that we're taking great shots and slowing them down. But if you like a race, these are two games that you want to see, because these two teams, that's how they like to play.
Seems like the words that come to mind are transition defense.
Transition defense, shot selection. Yeah, you better have it, and you got to contest, because both teams, they'll put four players out that will shoot the three. So you got to get your hands out there. You can't run to the paint. You got to run to the three-point line with them.
All right, Coach, best of luck. Appreciate you joining us. We'll talk again real soon, hopefully next week, as we continue to talk inside Georgia State basketball. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Dave. Go Panthers.
All right, want to thank our head coaches, Gene Hill, joining me here in the second segment, also in the previous segment, men's head coach Jonas Hayes, both joining me on the Panther Insider podcast this week. Quick reminder, basketball tickets available by calling the Georgia State Athletics ticket office at 404-413-4020. You can also purchase tickets online at georgiastatesports.com. Again, we're back talking Georgia State basketball next week on the Panther Insider podcast, driven by Ford. This is Dave Cohen saying thanks for listening. We'll see you at the GSU Convocation Center, and as always, go Panthers!
GSU!